Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right. So let's read the verse. So it says, Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam jnatvam mam shantim rachati. So there are different the Bhagavad Gita books and different authors, the translations of which I have included here. Sandhya, you've raised your hand.
I also wanted to recite, and if anybody else just
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
say,
All
maybe
right.
2 people can also recite. This
Yes.
is
So
a
let me
very, very special shloka.
Yes. So let me say the translations and like one translation I'll read, and then the persons who want to speak, they can read the shlokas and then on their own read the translations. Basically, everything means the same only. So I'll read the first one. Having realized me as the enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities, Yajna and Tapasam, the great Lord of all the worlds and the unselfish friend of all creation, he attains peace. So now whoever want to go for it.
Nitinji?
Yeah, I can recite it if that's what it was. भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति. Okay,
Uh,
do we need to read the translation as well?
No, I mean you can do it silently.
I'll also recite.
Yes.
Okay. भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसाम सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिं ऋच्छति.
All right. So let's go to the next page. Actually, before that, let me tell.
Sorry, I see Falguni ji's hand is also raised. Maybe you're not unable to see hands, right? So
Why?
I can call out on that. Yeah. Yes, Falguni ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can I recite the slok?
Please,
Radhe
please.
Radhe. Yeah. भोक्तारां यज्ञतापसं सर्वलोकामहेश्वरं सुहृदां सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिरिच्छति. Thank you.
All right. So let's discuss. So the shloka says, Bhokta Ram. So Bhokta means the enjoyer, and Yajna Tapasam. So there are two words that is being used, Yajna and Tapas. Sarvaloka Maheshwara means the Lord of everything. Suhridam means friend, and Sarva Bhutanam, that means Sarva Bhut, all five elements. Everything that is made of five elements. The friend of all. Jnatvam means those who know me, like a friend of Sarva Bhuta, that person achieves Shantim Richasi. Basically, it's saying that a person who understands Bhagavan, like God realization, that person will achieve Shanti. So so I'm going to decipher each term in my coming slides. So let's understand what is bhokta, and before understanding the bhokta, let's understand who's the karta. So karta is the one who's always the bhokta, right? So let's understand that. Okay, so karta. So as per Sankhya philosophy, there are different facets to our personality who does the work. So karma, so body and five senses do the activities. So body, they separate out, okay? So the body does eating, sleeping, mating, defending. The senses, which includes eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, they have their own functions, which is sense of sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. The function of the activities that happens in the mind is generating thoughts and emotions. Intellect, it is full of knowledge even of the past lives, and it has access to those knowledge, but um, we generally don't have that access. And it is also responsible for discrimination. That means all of the knowledge that it has, it's actually dividing it into two facets, dualities, likes, dislikes, pain, pleasure, hot, cold, everything is divided in that terms and is stored. And then we come to ego. And this ego is actually a false ego. Why false? You'll just know because it actually watches all the functions of the others and says, I did it. Basically, it's taking ownership of others' actions, so bodies, five senses, mind, intellect. And then it identifies itself with the body, mind, intellect complex. And the attachment that any senses have, like eyes have attachment to whatever sight, right? It says I'm seeing. Basically, the eyes are seeing, that's how Sankhya philosophy says. So false ego identifies itself as the body mind complex and experiences attachments and desires, which is likes and dislikes. Okay. And then because it says that the ego is doing, the personality is doing, it enjoys and suffers the fruits of others' actions. So what is the others? It enjoys the fruits of the senses, mind, body, intellect, whatever. So in conclusion, it says that there is no doer because ego as such is not doing. It's just taking ownership of others and saying, oh, I'm thinking, whatever information I have, I'm doing like that. So let's discuss about the consequences. When there is a attachment, which is of the mind or of the senses, if mind is thinking about an object or something, it develops an attachment, develops the craving. And then as a result of the craving, if you don't get that desire fulfilled, because it generates desires also, right? A person experiences anger, which we have studied in chapter 2, 2.62. And this may not be anger, it can be any other emotions also. So I picture it like, one side there is mind, another side there is intellect. And then there is a predominant, emotion. One side, the emotion is so strong that all your intellectual information, everything goes for a toss. It goes away and the person forgets who he is. And then there is a loss of intelligence. That means whatever actions that person does is not coming from, intelligent action. It is all emotional. And that way, the shloka further says that the man perishes. So if I am not the ego, then what am I? Who am I? That's the question that comes next. So who am I? Okay. So if you see, this is the body, mind, intellect, ego, and the soul. So here we'll delve into what is a soul, which is a self. So Atman is the true essence of an individual transcending the physical body and mind. So we are actually discussing about the bhokta, okay? Till now we've seen what is all the persons who are doing the activities and then who is enjoying the results. So it says that self is the truest form of, who you are, and it represents the innermost, unchanging, eternal reality. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan clearly tells Arjun that, Arjun, you are a soul. But then he says, if you don't think that you are a soul, if you think that you are the false ego, if you are identified with body, mind, senses, then also in 2.26 he says, however, you think that the self is subject to, if you think that the self is subject to constant birth and death, which happens, body, the soul becomes an identity and comes back again and again, then also you should not grieve like this. Grieving means you can say any emotions. You should not uh, put out these emotions because it is of no use. When I said that the mind and intellect, there is a balance, that is an equanimous state. And then when you are not at that state, you are actually becoming the false ego, and then you are suffering. Next, again, he says, death is certain for one who has been born. If you think that you are a personality and you are born, then rebirth is inevitable for that person who has died. Therefore, you should not lament over the inevitable. Next is, let's further see what ego is made up of. So ego is actually made up of karma, like whatever emotions that a mind experiences, ego thinks that it is his, right? So it will experience karma, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. And on the other side, I've just taken the opposite, and I've included a Bhagavad Gita associated shlok also. The person who's established in the self will be very stable, calm, generous, devotional, humble, helpful. So to whatever extent we are purified, our senses are purified, we understand that we are the soul, to that extent these qualities will be more in you and the others will be less. To whatever extent you're identified with your mind body complex, which we have seen, actually I forgot to tell. So the jivatman is also called jiva, is the atma identified as the body mind complex. So when the atma is thinking that it is these things, then we call it jiv. Jiv means something material in nature, and then atma. So that jivatma will always be having these emotions. It will have some of these also, depending on its purity level. So here in this Bhagavad Gita verse 13.6, actually Krishna Bhagavan is saying where all the activities are happening. So he says the field of activities is composed of five great elements. The ego activities happening in ego, the intellect, the unmanifested primordial matter, and the 11 senses, which is Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and the five object of senses, which is eyes, ears, nose, everything. And then here, actually, there is more to it, but I have included a little bit of what is the nature of the soul, which is absence of pride, freedom from hypocrisy, non-violence, forgiveness, straightforwardness, service to the teacher, purity of mind and body, steadfastness, self-control. Everything good comes here. And if we are, if those things are coming out, that means it's the nature of the soul, and we are really close to our real self, which is the balanced state. Next comes that if we think that we are the ego, which is the material, mentality, then these are the karmas that we are doing. Sakama karma, that is any actions which is in alignment with scriptural guidelines, like charity, feeding the poor. But these actions will always have a reaction. If we do something good for others with the desire as an ego, there will be a reaction. Whereas vikarma means forbidden actions, which is against the scriptural injunctions for selfish reasons we are doing. That also, and it is not a good action, then that also has a reaction. Like, if we have murdered somebody, or if we have stolen some money, or suppose we have given some money to someone and helped them, but they could not give it back in return this life, then all of that will be, collected in the sanchit karma. From that, one bucketful will take and come in this life, which is called prarabdha karma. And with the prarabdha karma, we are supposed to actually tolerate whatever is happening. But what happens is we think, oh, why bad things are happening to good people, and we react, and all those reactions again becomes the agami karma and gets collected in the sanchit karma. So here, this kriyaman karma, if we make it as a karma means, sorry, the spelling is wrong. It says devotional activities So what is devotional activities? It's not just praying to a devotee, praying to a deity, but helping others. We saw the nature of the soul, right? So if we do that, being established, or at least understanding that we are that spark of divine, then we are doing Kriyaman Karma. So when in the Kriyaman Karma, we are doing Akarma. So then there is no more further Agami Karma. There is no more reactions coming in. And it also exhausts actually the Sanchit Karma. So as time goes away, we get disinterested. There's a story of somebody talking to Buddha about the hell, and he says, "Oh, really? Those kind of things happen. Then I would like to go there and be there," because that kind of mentality happens, and you become very, very tolerant because you know that it is your actions whose reactions are coming, whether good or bad. So he's saying that work or the actions are neither good or bad. Its value depends on the mind state. Actions driven by sensory pleasure and ego, which is the jivatma getting identified, it leads to bondage in the material world. So you will always be in the karmic cycle. Whereas if you perform work as yajna, as a sacrifice to God, everything is happening because of God, for my betterment, as His pleasures, then that liberates us from the Maya. And it attracts the divine grace, and we also get ultimate liberation that we are seeking. So for all of this, we need to transform from the ego into the soul identity. And that requires purification of all the externals, that is body, senses, mind, intellect, ego, etc. So let's discuss about the purification of externals. And Bhoktaram, we've discussed who's the Bhokta and how we should be identifying ourselves as with our real nature. Because if we identify as soul, uh, which is our real nature, then we are purified. Otherwise, we come again and again. We discuss those shlokas. So next is tapas and yajna, yajna tapasam. So let's discuss what is tapas. It refers to the spiritual. Sandhya, you have a question?
Yeah, just like with respect to the bhokta, so like who is the real bhokta?
Yeah, it will come. It will come. I have further slides. I'll discuss more. So is that okay? Okay, so next is it refers to so how do we purify? Okay, so we do tapas. So tapas refers to the spiritual discipline of burning away negative habits, attachments, and ego-driven desires. So everything that is material in nature, we are actually cleansing ourselves of that. So, and then we are actually thinking about God. So we are attaching. So when there is a detachment, there should always be an attachment. So our senses, we are attaching towards Bhagavan and removing from the material things. So tapas involves doing something difficult or refraining from something tempting for personal transformation and growth. We are looking for purification of externals. So it helps purify the mind and body, fostering control over impulses and behavior. So Bhagavad Gita says there are 3 types of tapas, which is of body, mind, and speech. Body includes purity, honesty, non-violence. We don't hurt anyone, and we worship. Speech includes using kind, truthful, and beneficial words, and purity of the tapas of the mind includes cultivating gentleness, silence, compassion, and self-restraint. Here somewhere also comes the, chanting Bhagwan's names. So it could be the speech and mind together. And the yagna, it refers, originally it refers to the fire rituals, but then Krishna Bhagwan came and he said, yagnas, you can do it at anything. You can just give the credit to the real person, which is the Atman. So the yagna, the examples, there are many. There were 12. So I just included a little bit. So controlling the senses is a yagna. I'm doing it. It's kind of a tapas. I'm doing it for purification of my senses. So I'm controlling the senses, doing pranayama, offering wealth, practicing austerity, postures, breath control, meditation, study, self-reflection. But among all, jnana yajna, which is the cultivation of knowledge is considered highest because we are actually ready to give up our ignorance. People some says the ignorance is bliss. It is not. We are ready to give up that, and we are ready to understand our true self. And that, according to Krishna Bhagavan, is the highest of all the yagnas. And the goal of yagnas, which includes the tapa yagna, which is tapas, is self-knowledge and liberation. So now let's discuss about the true self. So we are going to discuss what is self-realization, what is Brahman realization, what is Paramatma realization, and the God realization in the next slide. So self-realization can be, your understanding. A completely materialist person will never understand that they have something other than their mind, body, intellect. To the very highest intellectuals, to the very not so intellectual people, they will not know. But somebody who has read scriptures, or somebody who has come in association with such devotees, saints, saintly people, they will understand, they will tell them. And that's how you understand that, yeah, there is a self somewhere. And then sooner or later, when you are purifying your senses, as you purify, you will experience it. And then the self, one of the nature of the self is all pervasiveness. So you will not just see the self in yourself, but you will see that energy form in everyone. So in that terms, in this chapter, actually, Bhagavan Krishna says that such a person who is very highly elevated in consciousness will see the dog eater, Brahmin, cow, everything as same, because at an energy level, they will understand that they are actually same. There is no difference. Then, so that is the Brahman realization, which is a further into the self-realization. And then the Paramatma realization, here your understanding as a soul becomes even more subtle. So what do you mean by subtle? Means there are 5 elements. I'll just give an example. Like if there is a cloth, you dip in the water and it is getting wet. That means water is subtler and is able to put its influence on the the cloth. Like that, um fire is able to burn the cloth and probably make the water into the vapors, right? So it has an effect. So it is subtler than the water and the earth element. Again, to the air element, it can put off the fire. So it is subtler than that. And then further, it is the space element. Air exists in space, and the space exists in Bhagavan himself. So coming to the Paramatma realization, whoever you pray, that person you will see within you when you get established in your self. You have a Brahman realization. And the Brahman realization and the Paramatma realization is actually various facets of God realization. So as you go further down, further everything is about purification. Okay, so more and more purified you become, the more and more abilities, your true self abilities comes out. And when the God realization happens, that is the Bhagwan is actually coming in front of you in his personal form. You are able to talk to him, experience him, get involved in the activities. That is God realization. And then you understand that everything, even the Paramatma, is coming because of his energy. The soul is active because of his energy. Everything, actually, your body senses, everything is working because of his energy. So who's the actual real energy provider, or who's the actual bhokta? It's the God only. It's the all pervasive individual. He's everything. So that's what is God realization. And then you don't, it's another facet, you don't come back. Probably in the Paramatma realization and the Brahman realization, you can come back. But as a God realized saint, you are an instrument of God. You come as a God only. I mean, there is God only, there is no you. And next is, let's discuss the shloka. So I think you've got a pretty good idea about where things are going. So Bhoktaram is the God himself. He is the true enjoyer of good actions. Why good actions? The yagnas and tapas, because everything else is for selfish reasons that we are doing. So then that is not considered. Anything for which we are giving credit to Bhagwan, even remembering him, bringing him in all ways, that is that he is actually enjoying that. And then he says that strivers should serve God as the body, senses, and mind actually belongs to him. By renouncing desires and performing actions for God, one purifies themselves. Detaching from the results of actions lead to supreme peace and spiritual liberation. So detachment from results. So if I'm not I don't have a desire as a material desire, then I'm dedicating every action because I'm here. I'm supposed to do some work. Then I'm dedicating it to him. Then I'm not the enjoyer also. So I don't get reactions for that. Next is God as a supreme Lord, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So I have already shown you in this diagram. He's the everything. So from him, everything is coming. So God is the supreme Lord of all creation, ruling the universe. If we stop claiming, like, this is my car, this is my house, all of that, and then we say, oh, God is a Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that doesn't happen. We have to say that everything is his gifts. And then when a person actually, okay, like that, and then he's a true friend because for a purified soul or a person who is actually in the process of purification, he's the one who's watching over you. He's the one who's going to look after you. He will give you what you need, and he'll always be there. And he's a true friend, even for the person, a materialist, because he will understand there's the futility of all that he wants to enjoy sooner or later. And in that way, as a Maya, because it's his energy, we get the results and we understand, right? So he's the teacher, he's the true friend. And that is what this shloka is saying, that Bhoktaram, the true enjoyer of Yajna Tapasam, of good actions, is him, because we are trying to reach him. And he's a Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's the friend of Sarva Bhutanam. And that person who actually realizes him, that person achieves peace. So, this is my last slide. So he's saying that, whoever is materialist, that is, who's identified as an ego, that prioritizes wealth and tangible success for happiness, values possessions and sensory pleasures, focuses on physical world, often overlooking spirituality, doesn't want to talk about it, and derives satisfaction from achievements and material gains. And with the body, he'll try to fulfill his desires, which is also material in nature. Whereas the devotee, a devotee is someone who's deeply dedicated to a deity, spiritual path, or higher power. They express their devotion through worship, prayers, rituals, and selfless service, often prioritizing spiritual values over worldly desires. They'll always do that. No, they're in the process of purification, and that is a devotee. And he seeks to cultivate qualities like humility, surrender, and love, aiming to grow closer to the divine. And when the devotee gets really, really purified, he goes beyond the material likes and dislikes, and he wants to serve Bhagavan. So he becomes his body, or as long as they have the body, they becomes the instrument of God and serves him, where they shift their focus from the gift that they have or they don't have to one becoming grateful for everything. They start to see the blessings of the present moment. They don't delve on the past. I didn't get that, or future, I'm worried about that. And then that gratitude opens our spiritual eyes to see God working all around us. So what is spiritual eyes is not something like you get a third eye and everything over there. It's like your perception gets enhanced, and because your perception gets beyond the five senses, beyond this kama, krodha, lobha, etc., you realize that oneness. So that whole process happens within you. So that person, um he understands. The understanding increases, and he works how God is working for all around us. I often wonder, why don't something bad happens, then people are looking for criminals, etc. And I often wonder, why don't they come and tell, because they can know. So basically they don't meddle in, as you purify this, it's all for the good, so they don't meddle in those things. So then they see God in everyone, leaving no room for comparison or envy. So, and then there is no more anxiety and fear because God is right there with them as the Paramatma, or even for a God realized person. Then he may act like a devotee. He can choose if he retains the ego when they die. They can choose whichever bhav they want to be in. But basically, um, they have everything. Nitin sir says that Bhagwan becomes serves them like that, so they have everything at their disposal. And then I'll conclude it by this shloka, which is where Krishna Bhagavan says that, my dear Arjun, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is a friend to every living being, because you understand that there is no difference, he certainly comes to me. So Radhe Radhe, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So whoever, take it from here.
Wonderful. Nitinji, yeah.
I just love Pratyusha. You've done a lot of homework. Second chapter, 8th chapter, 11th chapter, 13th chapter. So very nicely done. Lot of work. Clearly it comes out. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Good work,
Yeah, it
Pratyusha.
was like a whole crash course, right? Like starting from the start till what we really need to understand and implement on a daily basis.
Yeah,
Yep.
it comes from surrender. You learn to surrender because you understand that I'm not the doer. It's him. He's giving us power.
Very nicely
It's
done,
really,
Pratyusha.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
Krishna.
it was really a privilege, actually. I know, because Sandhya said it. I read the whole chapter, and the new things are coming again, and making the presentation again and again and again. It was
It was beautiful.
thank you. Yeah. Anybody questions? I don't know how long I took also, actually.
I think you covered a lot of stuff in pretty good time. Very nicely done. Yeah, I think for me the key summary for from all of it, as I understood, was bhokta. We try to enjoy it actually, but God is the supreme enjoyer. So when we do it with a spirit of sacrifice, with a spirit of love, then those become non-binding karma and take us beyond this material realm. There is an interesting quote I came across. It's in Hindi. It says, "नाथ सकल संपदा तुम्हारी, मैं सेवक समेत सुतनारी." That means everything belongs to you. My son, my wife, pretty much everything. So when we have that kind of a mindset, so basically, it's like one way. A one way enjoyment cycle we have created, right? Enjoyment, or it's mine. The entire world around us, my wife, my bank balance, my son, my parents, my designation, whatever it is, it's a one way street we have opened up there. God says, make it a love triangle. Okay, include me into the mix. And then you say, not mine, but they are like, they belong to God, and God has entrusted me to take care of them. Okay, so when you do it with that spirit, it becomes non-binding. But when you do it with the spirit, it belongs to me, it belongs to me, then that becomes binding. So we don't have to change anything. We don't have to change the occupation. We have to change the transform the thought process or the consciousness behind it. That's all it. We still operate the same way. We do our job. We take care of our family. We do whatever is we do, but the only thing that changes is that it's a work for the pleasure of God, and it's a responsibility that He has entrusted us with, as opposed to thinking He's mine, that person is going to give me happiness, this is for my enjoyment. That's pretty much it. Very nice, Pratusha. Thank you for that. Any questions? I think we can have a good discussion on this topic.
Champaji has raised hand. I also actually just wanted to like discuss one example, which is like, a hand which is utilized for feeding our body. So the hand is picking the food. And if the hand starts thinking that this is for my enjoyment, and I can actually nourish myself just by myself. That is stupidity of the hand, right? Like in some sense, hand is part of the whole body, and hand when offers the food to mouth, then the body gets nourished, and through that the hand also gets nourished. So that's exactly like the same case as us. So we, like in any case, God is the supreme enjoyer. It's about us understanding it and acting in the right consciousness. That's when we can get the right peace. That's what this yeah.
True.
So
Another benefit, sorry, I think Champaji wanted to say, I wanted to add something about Kalyug, how important it is. Yes, Champaji has raised. Go ahead, Champaji.
yes, Champaji.
Nitinji, please carry on.
No, 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 Champaji, go ahead. I will not forget. I have made a mental note of it. I'll bring it out.
Thank you. Pratyusha ji, it was a very nice thing. I'm really proud of all my young friends who is putting so much work in this. Here, I just wanted to say one thing. I don't know, Nitinji should clarify whether my understanding is right or not.
I'll try.
He attains peace on knowing me. That's what he says, right? In this. Here, that Krishna does, whenever he talks about in first person, he does not mean Devaki's son Krishna. It is actually the self, that is Paramatma inside. So we have to know ourselves first, the soul, the Lord who is seated within us. This one clarification I wanted to know whether I'm right or not. And I just want to add here, Yajna for us in the present day, it means any work we take in any field of activity, self-dedicated work. And tapas means what we self-deny practices self-control, because we cannot go to the forest and do the tapas. So these three things I wanted to clarify. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Champaji. Thank you. I think you've done a lot of research and groundwork. So you're always right, Champaji. I think that's pretty much my understanding also a little bit. Maybe I can seek clarification from you as well. So yeah, tapas, my understanding was also it's austerity that you do. And then when you talk about Krishna, yeah, Krishna, again, we've spoken about it, right? He's basically all pervading. Ekoham Dutyo Nasti, right? So it's God only, his Leela only that he has created. And he exists in three forms, right? Like Bhagavan Pratusha was explaining, we can meet him in his personal form or meet him as, Brahman, that is all pervading aspect of it, or as Paramatma, who's the very Ishtadev is. So it's the same entity, right? Now he chose to take birth from Devaki as a mother, right? Because of the past karmas she would have had or the wish she would have expressed. But yeah, he's not an ordinary person, Krishna. We all know that. So when he's referring to his divine aspect there, not the one that, even as when God takes birth, he doesn't become any less than God. So he's not human. Even his body is made up of Satchidanand, even then. It's not made up of those five elements. I don't know how it would feel to touch it. But yes, when he's talking about it, he's talking about his all pervading or Bhagwan or Paramatma aspect, not the regular cowherd boy as such. And the benefit of, I've wanted to call out Kali Yuga is that in Satyug, we talk about Yajna, right? So Satyug, the key thing in Satyug for anybody to progress spiritually was dhyan. You need dhyan to progress if you are born in Satyug, and lot of it. Like people can do it for thousands of years. Then next comes Treta. So in Treta, the injunction is yagya. People would do yagya, fire sacrifices for thousands and thousands of years. We do yagya in Kali Yuga, but those yagyas, I don't know if they truly make it to whom it is designed, because The time, the dravya that is used, the mantra, the pandit who's there, everything has to be perfect, which is very, very, chances of that happening in Kali Yuga are very low. So that is why yagya was there in Dwapar, and then in not in Dwapar but Treta, and then in Dwapar puja was the medium to get closer to God or to advance spiritually. And now in Kali Yuga, it is God's name. He's made it so simple. So the benefit that you can get by reciting and thinking about God for probably 10 days might be equivalent to 100 or 1000 years of dhyan that you have done in Satyug. So he's made it easy because he knows we'll be intellectually, a little weak and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's a great opportunity. So all the penances and stuff is given in our scriptures, but in Kali Yuga, it's not practical actually to go down any other path because so many things are imperfect. The timing may be off. The pandit may have a motivation. The money that you are using, dravya, may not be as pure as it wants. So many factors have to fall in place, and that is why the simple thing is name, dhyan, and God has simplified this whole process for us. And the beauty of this thing is that when you start getting purified, all the all the spiritual gunas, devik sampatti that you call about, right? 16.3 talks about it, starts coming to you all by itself. So, 2.63 pranashyati word comes, I think, more than twice, I guess, but I observed it in at least in 2.63 talks about krodh, anger, which they says buddhi nashat pranashyati, it destroys your intellect. And in 9.31 God is saying na me bhaktya pranashyati. Again he is using the word pranashyati but in different context. He said he can never be destroyed. So if you do bhakti, if you think about God, if you take his name, he's make sure that you never fall down on that path. He will hold you always and he will continue to do your course correction. Basically you are care of God at that point, care of Krishna or care of your Ishtadev. So that is the beauty of bhakti in Kali Yuga. Just wanted to add that.
So the Maya that the Kali Yuga you've already said. Thank you so much, sir.
I just wanted to add this thing that this, like, I personally find this shloka very, very practically useful. Like just reminding ourselves in cases where we get worried, oh my God, what will happen? How is this situation going to get controlled? Getting reminded of the fact that God is the supreme controller. Everything is under his master control, right? So that just relaxes you that the my biggest eternal well-wisher is controlling everything. So, at least personally for me, I think just reminding these three things, that he is the supreme enjoyer, he's the supreme controller, and he is our bestest and closest friend, is like so much relieving and relaxing every time I get worried or stressed. So I just wanted to point it out that this shloka I personally find as a very practically utilizable tool on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Beautiful point. Another thing is this life, if you think about it, it is like, I think they say, right? Lord Shiva, I think in Shiv Puran, he has said that Uma kahu mein anubhav apna, sat hari bhajan, jagat sab sapna. So if you are, let's say you are sleeping, and in your sleep you have a nightmare that your house is on fire and you are burning. Now you are getting scared in that dream. So let's say people outside, they start bringing fire brigade and start spraying water, okay, all around the house. Somehow they got a telepathy, you're having that dream. Will that help? Will it douse the fire in your dream? It will not, right? So only way the dream will break is if you wake up. And this process of spirituality is waking up. We are waking up. This is all a dream. We have created this world. I mean, dream in the sense that's all false things, all agendas. Oh my God, I need to do this. I need to do that. This is my son, my daughter. This needs to happen. That all that we have concocted around us. The day we will wake up, it's all gone. It's like our own creation around what we want to experience. And God says, okay, be my guest, child, enjoy one more life and see what happens. So once we wake up, and the only way to quell that dream or that nightmare is, see, we are getting scared. So many things are happening to us in life, right? We are fearful of bad health or losing a near and dear one or something, a stock market crashing, I don't know, so many things that we are scared of right now. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, in context, it doesn't carry anything at all. We just have to wake up. It's all is sapna or mithya basically. Everything is temporary, and once we close our eyes, depart from this body, all this ceases to exist, and then we start this drama all over again. So yeah.
Yeah, and that example that you have given many times in the past, which is like if your neighbors comes and says that I'm so much worried about your child, you'll be like, okay, my child, I know better, right? Same thing God will say when we start worrying too much for our so-called associations and attachments, right?
True. When we start worrying about somebody that I have to take care of them or I need to do, doesn't mean that we run away from that. We do our best, but then have a humility to understand we can do only so much. They are our friend, relatives. Before that, they are God's children, right? And God is taking care of everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, understanding like the bigger picture is always helpful. So that way, yeah.
Mhm. You wrote that Kalyug Keval Naam Adhara Sumir Sumir Nar Nar Utri Apara. Great. Good to see
Yeah,
you,
I
Shri. So many places I'm seeing.
yeah. Actually, I came across something more about the karm sannyas, which is um it's a bridge actually between the sannyas yoga and the meditation, because when you purify your intellect, when you actually purify your ego, may by bhajan or all those activities, tapas yajnas, you become eligible for doing meditation. There is a section called dharana before meditation, where you're learning everything about God, you're reading, your mind becomes full, saturated with those information. Intellect is, doing that at contemplation, bhakti, going on the side, all bhajan. You become so saturated that when now you're sitting for meditation, nothing else comes. And then you get the Paramatma realization in the meditation. So I just read somewhere, so I thought I'll say share.
Right.
Awesome. Saji ji have raised hand. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. I was no, I cannot ask any question about this shloka because we have all been reading this shloka for the last 7 days. Not only us at home, everyone in India also knows this shloka very, very well.
The
So,
work you did, I think Pratyusha has done a fantastic job. So I can imagine how much work she would have put in on this one.
oh yes, this slide has got revised 4 times. I have gone through this whole presentation at least 5 6 times. But more importantly, in the last 2 or 3 days, so she did all the tapas yagna mentioned in this slide, and in the last 2 days, she submitted the both of us to God and said, "Okay, you both are in. God is in charge of both of you. I am practicing my presentation." So it's no, it is on a very very funny note, but great job, Prati. I mean, I just wanted to call that out.
She couldn't possibly would have pulled it off without your able support, Saji. I'm pretty very sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She pulled it. She would have pulled it off come high rain or high water. Anything she would have pulled this off. Dedicated to this.
Yep. Nice, very nicely done.
So yeah, just like Pratyusha ji said, right? It was her privilege. It was our privilege to be able to see it coming across so beautifully through you. Our opportunity.
Yeah. So, like, we need in order to move water upwards, water falls down, right? We need a machine, yantra. Similarly, to take our mind away from Maya towards God, we need a mantra. Mantra means God's name and dhyan, basically. So when we do that, then it will automatically start taking our mind away from God. Easier said than done, but that is how it's meant to be. In fact, I've been practicing, and I'm telling you, even if you do it with brute force, when your mind is not there, it works. It helps. So it's a great habit to actually to get into. It's the best thing one can do. I think we had done this challenge long back. I hope some of you are continuing with it. That's the best gift we can give to ourselves if we can remember our Ishtadev name and can continue to recite it as best as frequently as possible. If you can remember it, nothing like it. So
And
the
like,
aim is when we wake up in the night, right, in the middle of the night, like if you wake up Shah Rukh Khan in the middle of the night, he can sleepwalk into a romantic role. So same way, if somebody wakes you up at the middle of the night, your chanting is continuing without you having to think about it. It becomes your default setting. So that's the aspired state. So,
yeah, and like I have been recently listening to Hanuman Prasad Poddarji's videos. He has like very much talked about importance of Nam Jap and how it can be done. And one thing that really struck me very hard is like our breath, each and every breath that we take is literally getting wasted if we are not taking Lord's name along with it, if it is not synchronized with taking Lord's name. So that's like so deep and aspirational state, but very strong. Yeah.
so- and you know what is the price tag of one breath that we have? Any guesses? No matter what you have. No, no. When the time comes, you want to buy it with all the money that you have. You can't even buy one extra breath. That is how powerful, important it is that we fritter away, not understanding its significance. Very well. When I heard it for the first time, I was like, oh my God. And this happens lifetime after lifetime. What happens is in eighth month, when the consciousness comes, soul I think enters around fifth month, but eighth month when the consciousness come, the embryo it's actually stuck inside. It can barely move itself, and it's in a very miserable existence. Okay, inside, and its body is burning and all that stuff, and that's when God comes. Okay, and he can see all his lifetimes and stuff and why he's here, and then he says, okay, take me out, and this time I'm going to break all the records in devotion. And God gives another opportunity, and then the impressions of this life falls. I'm your mommy, I'm your daddy, do this, do that. And then our friends, our thought process and all that stuff, we end up messing it again. So but we are fortunate in the sense, at least we have an opportunity to, God met us, we have forgotten, in the embryo, but now he's meeting us through Bhagavad Gita, so we can hear him now. So that's a good opportunity, I would say.
Yeah, and human birth, we can hear him. We have so many resources, like nothing to cry for, just be grateful
Yeah,
and practice. Yeah. So
true.
actually, at this point, I also wanted to say, so like now we have concluded chapter 5. Time to move on to chapter 6. But before that, just to take like an opinion, we were thinking either we could revise the entire chapter, like in brief, or we could also do some kind of a interactive activity quiz kind of a thing where people get to kind of see how well we have understood chapter 5, or we can just discuss. Nitinji, what do you suggest?
Whatever I will play along. I'll bring in slides periodically, but whatever you decide. I mean, you can take a poll from others. If you want to continue to progress, chapter 6, we are going at a decent pace now, right? Previously, one shloka would go for 2 weeks. Now, at least we're making progress, one per session and continue, but with a good
Because we
discussion.
are having one session a week, Nitinji. That has also changed, right?
I will see if you want to do it more frequently down the line, but not immediately for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have any preference, whatever works for all of you.
Falguni has raised hand. Maybe she wants to suggest. Yes?
Yes,
Radhika.
Falguni.
Yeah, yeah. I just have one small suggestion that before proceeding to chapter 6, if we can just do a quick summary kind of a thing of chapter 5, like just a quick summary, like bunching, because there are some slokas which can be bunched together, and just a summary of those 4 5 slokas, then go to the next 5 6 slokas, bunch them together, and something like that, because that would like kind of put everything in our minds, That is why this is just a suggestion.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
agree. I think we can do that for sure. That's what we were also internally discussing. Yeah. Champaji?
Radhe Radhe. I think I'm going to ask something difficult. Is it possible to have these sessions in India time, evening India time? Because this time of the day in India is very tough.
What we can do is, I think we were discussing, we can probably next time we can have like a document, like a Google Doc, which everybody can fill some kind of a feedback, input, suggestions, and based upon what the majority says, we can accordingly move forward.
Champaji, is this the date?
And the
Is it the
poll.
time? Is it the day Monday? I think it's Monday. Is that the
Monday
day or
Monday
Okay.
morning, this class will start from 7:30.
How
the
Earlier,
is
time is going to
morning
change, become
7:30 to 8:30 in the morning in India is a very busy time,
it's going to become a little later, I guess, after November, I believe. Yeah, November
timing
3rd.
change? It
It
will
will
be
become
8:30 to
8:30.
9:30.
Something in the evening, we will all be free, like,
That is the morning time.
Yeah,
So
for
in the
you.
mornings. We have office.
Yeah.
That becomes office.
Yeah, so this is something we can discuss depending upon what is the
For
preference of.
the India participants, this morning time is a bit difficult.
Sure, Chapaji. We will
Yeah.
keep this in mind and we'll try to see if we can make it something more comfortable. Yeah.
I'm sure
Thank
Sandhya will find a solution for that. So go ahead. All the best, Sandhya.
Nitinji, I can't. Oh, we see Shyamji. Shyamji, you want to say something? We haven't heard you for so long.
Shyamji I don't
There's
see him on
there's
camera.
nothing, no, not much. Just wanted to add my input as Champaji is saying for Indians here in India back. Because when I have the sessions, I don't see I'm in India. I see I'm in US. So it's okay with me. So that's the way it goes. Otherwise, we can't have it.
Shyamji, I can't wait to go to Vrindavan again with you, okay? Pretty soon. I
I
have a
haven't
feeling
gone
so.
anything after that. So same here. Let's plan sometime soon.
Sure, we'll see. Let's check it out. I mean, if we can shift around time or something. I don't know, but maybe worth exploring.
Yeah. But timing is certainly a concern, but it's okay. As long as we can just
We
manage
need
ourselves.
definitely need Champaji, so we have to do something for sure.
Yeah.
Right? We should consider. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great. It's just good to be back, getting into Bhagavad Gita discussions again. And thank you. You guys are doing amazing. And Shruti did a wonderful presentation, and today Pratyusha. So all of you and Sri Ramya earlier. So you guys are doing pretty good. So thank you everybody for that.
Raviji is suggesting Saturday night. So I think I'll try. We are all part of that community, right? If we can do a poll there, probably everybody can
How about,
pitch in.
how about Saturday morning? Will that work better than Monday morning?
Probably for Champaji because it will be her evening and we can manage it Saturday morning. So Champaji, you want to?
Or
Or
your Saturday morning, Jam, in India, will that work better than Monday morning?
No, I don't want you to take any difficulty just because of one person. But I
others?
always feel, morning times, I love these classes, but morning times it becomes little difficult to get in, and I prefer Monday morning to weekends.
Okay,
In
got
India,
it.
weekends we are something or the other will be there. That way, Monday morning is better.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we'll do a poll in the community just to get another consensus like from everybody and then whatever
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Awesome. So I think it's already the time. Once again, thank you so much, Pratishadi. And we will do the revision, I think, of the chapter 5 next week. So look forward to that as well as the poll. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining and
Thank you.
participating.
Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.